I went to college, got my master's in accounting. He never talks about this whole VC startup space and that you could have investors, angel investors, help you build your company, invest in you to build your company. It's helped our growth, tremendously since we, made the decision that we're going to be a startup and start, looking for investments to build our company. But had I known that, in 2018, 2019, we'll probably be light years ahead of, where we're at right now.
Hey folks, welcome to 2023 and another episode of Aepiphanni Off the Cuff. Hope you guys had a great new year, and we're looking forward to rocking with a whole new setup. We are this year going to start doing some panels, so we'll have more than one guest, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different things. This month, we're actually going to talk about tech startups. We've got a couple of great guests here, and let me remind you guys of Hazel, our rock. Hazel, how are you today?
Hey Rick, I'm good. Super thrilled actually because we're switching up the format for our podcast starting today. So excited about that.
Yes. I'm looking forward to this. This should be very cool. Let me introduce our two guests. We have Brandon and we've got Navarr. These guys are tech startups. They've got some apps that they are going to hit the market with, or if they haven't hit the market with it already. Really cool stories. So guys, pay attention. Brandon, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and give us a little bit of your background?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate you having me on today. This is exciting. Rick, Hazel, nice to meet you. Navarr, good to see you again. My name is Brandon Rhodes, originally from North Carolina. Done some business things in the background, but I wanted to jump into the tech scene because I thought there was a problem that I had a solution to. And my company is called Young Fox. We are a platform for ordering food, more like a marketplace. And users and customers have the option to come on there, order from their favorite restaurants, and we are going to save those restaurants money on the back end by allowing those orders to flow directly to them and cutting out some of the third-party companies that swipe huge fees, 30, 40, 50% fees. So Young Fox is an ordering marketplace, and we are in beta right now.
Awesome. That's going to be awesome. Navarr, introduce yourself. Tell us about what you're doing.
Definitely. Rick, thanks again for having me here. Hazel, again, nice to meet you. So Navarr Grevious, I'm the CEO and co-founder of QuickLick. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. I went to college at Clark Atlanta University, where I received my master's in accounting. Also studied abroad in Beijing, China, took international business, international economics, member of Kappa Alpha Psi. And then right after graduation, I worked for Deloitte as a full-time auditor for a couple of years before making the transition into finance and accounting recruiting. In 2018, started QuickLick. QuickLick is a digital marketplace for beer, wine, and spirits. We partnered with local liquor stores. When I say local liquor stores, I'm talking about your mom and pop liquor stores. These are liquor stores on every corner with no website, no social media, definitely no app. So we give them a digital presence as well as alcohol delivery service. And then for the consumer, we allow you to select your favorite beer, wine, and spirits right from your fingertips and have it delivered to your doorstep in 45 minutes or less. So we're headquartered here in Miami Beach. We have operations in Tampa. We just expanded to Atlanta in August.
That's outstanding. This has got to be an exciting time for you guys. Oh my gosh. So, we see like apps like coming, hitting the market almost every day. I mean, I'd love to know from each of you. I mean, what is your experience been like? I mean, has it been as easy as like some folks would make it out to make us believe, or I see you nodding your head already, Navarr.
No, I would say not at all. And just for me, I say my personal experience. I have two other co-founders, so it's three of us, but none of us are technical founders. So building our tech department, realizing, what it takes to build a tech department is a whole nother story within itself. Like I said, we jumped through the hoops, just trying to find, a CTO to a front end, back end developer. And just now trying to be immersed in the ecosystem in this tech space to trying to find these talents. So it hasn't been an easy process. It's been a journey. We're still building out our tech department now. But, opportunities and just being, in the network is helping us build our tech department. But it's still incomplete, but we're getting there.
Awesome. What about you, Brandon? Walk in the park for you? You started like 2 weeks ago and you're like in beta now, or?
Yeah, no, not at all. It's quite the opposite. I'm kind of in the same situation as Navarr with it being a non-tech startup founder. For me, it was part of my journey, part of my destiny to become this non-tech founder, because it's part of something I feel like I'm called to. So I started this in the summer of 2019 with just the idea, and not being in the space, I decided the best thing for me was to be in some sort of a program, or like Navarr mentioned, some sort of ecosystem that would get me to where I needed to be. I was involved in an incubator that was really good, and it got me kind of involved in the mindset of what it's like to be a startup founder in an arena where, if you're on the outside, it's very, very, very difficult to break into the inside of that ecosystem. So it's been quite the journey. We've had to stop and pause for several months and pivot and learn things and change. But I think that's part of the process. This is just a stepping stone to something that I'm going to be doing later in life, I believe. So I'm just training for the next level of life. So it's anything but easy, but it's what we have to do to move forward. So we're getting there.
Awesome. Any parts of that journey stand out to either one of you guys?
For me, it's just the relationships. I went to college at Clarkland University, it's a HBCU, and some of the tech help that we've had assistance with through our platform being built has been from the relationships that I established at my university. So I say to anybody that's in college right now, if you're looking to get in the tech space, to hold on and cherish the relationships that you make within your friends within the tech space. Because computer engineer and developers, they're hard to come across when you need them as you're building out your company, as you'll see. But those relationships that you can make in college, hold on to them, because it's helped us get to where we're at right now.
Awesome. Anything jump out to you, Brandon?
Yeah, for sure. I took a non-traditional route in life. I decided not to go to college very early on. I had some children that were born right out of high school, and so I had to start working. I didn't go to college till later in life, when I was 30. And when I jumped into this arena and decided to really kind of hone in on what I wanted to do, I love to build things. So for me, part of this journey that sticks out is kind of the nasty now, the day-to-day stuff, the grind, where there's no love in there because everybody's doing it. And everybody's down there in the mud and the weeds and the sun, and it's hot and it's nasty. And, there's a lot of free resources out there. People want to help you, but they're all doing their grind. And part of the journey that stuck out for me is that I'm doing the same thing that all these other people are doing. So there's no love down in there when you're trying to figure things out on a day-to-day basis. And you just have to get up and just grind it out and figure it out. Navarr has kind of an edge on it because he went in international business and he learned these systems that I didn't learn earlier on. So I had to play catch up, kind of to get to where I could learn these systems and learn how to do these things properly. So for me, taking that non-traditional route in this journey is the biggest thing that stands out for me.
I'd just like to add one additional thing just to piggyback that stands out for me. It's been consistency. I believe if you do something and have a regimen that you stick to it, you will see results at the end of the day. And for us, whether it's been send out a couple emails, looking at this financial report, or adding this platform to a resource or platform to our app, it's helped us out tremendously, and it's been consistent. Having a wake up daily routine where, hey, I'm doing this, sending out emails, making these calls here. Making these relationships, but being consistent with that, you'll see the results over time.
Yeah.
So true.
Awesome.
Can I just say that it takes a lot of guts to enter a hyper competitive field like technology, and without any sort of technical background, my goodness, I can't imagine like the amount of hurdles I have to.
Yeah.
So,
and there's a lot of pressure in that statement. There's a lot of pressure there because you think you have to be this unicorn. You think you have to be somebody who creates this environment that's going to change the entire world. And if you don't, then people aren't going to take you serious. And it's just not, it's just not true, because basic business principles are basic business principles, and you can build something. I mean, there was over 5 million businesses started last year. Now, a lot of those don't make it, but if you just stick to the plan, like Navarr was saying, be consistent and just wake up and become the person that you said you were going to be and do the things you said you were going to do, eventually it's going to pay off. So, the consistency is big, and jumping into an arena is quite intimidating, like you said, in this tech space. But I think that basic business principles apply here. And I'm just trying to do one thing at a time, not so much get it right, but get it moving forward so I can get it right later. And that's kind of how I approach this.
Belly forward, roughly right. I love that. I love that.
I'm curious to know like how you handle the vast amounts of technical work needed to build the apps, especially since you don't have prior technical background to reference to. So like, how do you handle mobile developers to work on your projects while simultaneously protecting your idea so it doesn't get stolen?
So we actually partnered with like a venture studio, so a company that built our app for us since we're not technical. But within that building the process, we had a technical project manager that kind of liaised the whole process to ensure that they was hitting their sprints and when they were supposed to have their deliverables done, and that everything was being tight and within the integrity of what should be done for the service. So we had a technical project manager that kind of helped liaise that and spearheaded that whole project. But we also partnered with a venture studio that built our app that you see today. And then now to leverage, like I said, some of the relationships that we have within college for like our full stack developer and some of our back end, maintenance, we use them now.
That's smart.
Yeah, approaching this this world where it might seem terrifying, excuse me, to protect your idea, because people make NDAs, you sign NDAs, people break NDAs. I mean, you have to build relationships, and that kind of goes back to the point Navarr made earlier. Was you have to find some people that you can trust, and that takes time. And sometimes people think that speed to the market is key, but from a non-technical background, I wanted to make sure that I had some people in my corner that I could trust, that knew the lane that I was in and knew that I didn't know some things and knew that I did know some things. So I take a little different approach because I think if you hide things, you're never going to see them become great. So I tell a lot of people about my idea. I'm not scared of people stealing my idea. I'm not even worried about that one bit because there's other things out there that are similar to what I'm doing, but they're not the same. Like I said earlier, I feel like this is something that I'm called to be a part of my destiny. So if that's the case, then I'm going to get this thing built regardless of what anybody else is doing. I just have to kind of cancel out that noise. And I trust this dev team that I hired. I hired a third-party company to come in and test their work. So I have to take additional steps because I don't know the technology as well, to have other people that do know it, and then really lean into their understanding and their knowledge and trust them at the end of the day that they're going to do me right.
How cool is that? Navarr, what are your thoughts on the NDA?
On NDA? Yes. NDA. So for us, we raised $250,000 to a private family and friends round. And through that, every investor signed the NDA, and the financial instrument that we used was a safe agreement. And it kind of echoed Brandon's, sentiments. At first, when I first building QuickLick, like in 2018, I had reservations about printing out stuff at the library and seeing them having seen QuickLick names. I thought it was a great name. I thought it was catchy, and that somebody can easily duplicate what I'm doing. But fast forward to today, 2022, there's so many different verticals, so many different relationships that have to be established, so many different, the IP is priceless. And it's just so much. I can go on and on about how the company of QuickLick works that, I'm confident somebody can't duplicate my business, like the way I'm doing it right now. Like Brandon said, there are similar companies out there. We all have competition, within our space. But like I said, if you're consistent and you know what you're building and you believe it in yourself and you believe this divine intervention that called upon you to build this business, then, nothing can stop you from getting to the end point.
Mm. You guys started from different, I guess, different perspectives. Navarr, you've got two co-founders. Brandon, do you have a co-founder, or is it just you?
No, it's just me at the moment. Yeah, I don't have any co-founders. It's just me right now on the team. And I have
Well,
consultants that I work with that I pay for time and stuff like that. But it's just me at the moment.
sure. Do you think you would be in a different place, or do you wish you had co-founders, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm opening up that door right now. As a matter of fact, I knew that there was going to be a time when I needed to begin looking at building out a team around me, not only
Hmm.
to keep me focused, but to keep me accountable for what I need to do as the founder and CEO of Young Fox. So, talking with some of my consultants right now and some people that I'm working with on the back end, that door has been opened to begin this journey of discovering what a co-founder even is for me and what it looks like to have one, and can they see the vision that we're putting together. So I knew the time would come. It's been in the back of my mind, but now I'm just starting that process now.
Sounds like you feel like it's pretty important to have that co-founder.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and I think it's very important, especially if you're going to scale to any degree, because you need partners. You need people that can understand what you're doing and can keep you accountable. I mean, I think that's key.
Cool, cool, cool. Or, so you started with co-founders, right?
Yeah, yeah. Really, like I said, quickly goes back to divine intervention, for me, with this business endeavor. So quickly was actually, founded by Michael and I. We're the co-founders, the original two co-founders of the company. But Michael
Mm-hmm.
and I are frat brothers, members of Kappa Alpha Psi, went to Clark Atlanta University together. And after graduation, I worked for Deloitte as a full-time auditor, and he worked for Target as a financial analyst in Minnesota. But we just knew, working at corporate life within 2 years, that it was more to life for us, that, this career wasn't for us. So one day we decided to get on the phone, get on a phone call and have a discuss about, other opportunities and entrepreneurship amongst ourselves. And he's like, you go first. Tell me your business idea. Tell me your business. I was like, all right, I go first. I have this idea we could have alcohol delivered to your doorstep, kind of like pizza or Chinese food. And this is in 2011. And he literally
Mm-hmm.
dropped the phone. I didn't know he dropped the phone. I'm like, hello, hello. And he picks the phone back up and he says, bro, I literally had the same exact idea. And this was in
Wow.
2011. So, a lot of red tape. This is before, your Drizzlies of the world and some of these companies you think about. But, this is the time in the making. You can look at the LLC in 2011. And then, took us to 2018, where we found a third co-founder, which is Aaron Carter. And he comes to us
Mm-hmm.
with like 10 years of liquor and alcohol industry knowledge. He works for one of the
Mm.
biggest distributors here in the U.S. So we needed that
Mm-hmm.
legal and the alcohol industry knowledge because we're business savvy. We have the business
Yeah,
background, and we're all
yeah.
entrepreneurs. But he gave us that third aspect that we needed to really get this company and to really look at this company as an e-commerce space and not just a delivery company.
Awesome,
So
awesome.
I would
I
say
thought that
a
was
whole
interesting how you. What was that?
No, I was just gonna say, so definitely both of my co-founders are needed. Has been paramount to the growth and success of our company. Co-founders are definitely. I don't think it's easy to come across. But if you
Mm-hmm.
do find one, hold on to them and cherish that because, like I said, they've helped us grow to where we're at today.
Mm.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I hear that a lot. I hear that, from other businesses as well. Hazel, do you hear the same thing about
Yeah, yeah,
co-founders? And you started several companies as well, right?
yeah. I did. I also have co-founders. One of them is it's a manufacturing company. You know, there's
Awesome.
one thing that I'm curious about. So Navarr, Brandon, would you say that it's imperative, or like if perhaps if opportunity presents itself, would you say it would be an excellent idea to find another co-founder with the technical skill set your business may need?
Uh, Agreed. I definitely do. We're, actively, looking if we could find, like a co-founder or CTO. We're looking forward. We understand the importance of having somebody that could be our tech lead or tech liaison,
Mm-hmm.
for us, because the tech has its own jargon. They have their own, language that they speak. If you don't understand it, then you're left out on the outside looking in. And saying that we're a tech company, we understand how important it is to have, somebody that could be our tech voice and soundboard for us. So definitely is open, and we have been actively looking and trying to hire and retain somebody that could be another co-founder or CTO. But people at that level, it's a lot of commitment that's asked, and it's just not that easy to find talent with limited resources.
Mm.
I agree with that. Having someone on your team that's tech savvy, even if it's earlier on or if it's later, I think would be key, especially for what I'm doing logistically behind the scenes, connecting the dots for these restaurants and consumers to come into one unified place, a marketplace to do what I'm doing. I'm one of the guys that I have right now that's a fractional COOs. Basically, he's got some tech background, and that's one of the reasons why I brought him on as a fractional consultant, is because I needed that ear, I needed that voice, kind of asking why. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
well, if you don't understand the tech, then why are you doing it this way, or why are you doing it that way? And his background is more, well, in my experience, this is what we did. He's not telling me what to do, but he's guiding me down the right path to understand why people make decisions in tech in the back of the house or the back dashboards of things, and why they speak the language they do. It's a very tight knit community. And so, if I bring on a co-founder, very well leaning towards the person that I already have on the team as a fractional COO. He's an operational guy. He's a marketing guy, but he also has tech background experience. So there may be some magic there, with him. So, but yeah, I mean, having someone very close to you that can speak the language is very, very important. And it's one of the reasons why I reached out to a third party to test my tech, is because I don't have anybody next to me currently. So I had to reach out to a third party to do that. But yeah, I think bringing on somebody in the near future for us at Young Fox is going to be key for that.
Navarr, you were talking about, when you were talking about bringing on like a CTO, you talked about bringing them on in some level of ownership capacity. Do you get concerned about like the number of shares that you're giving out, and how does all that work? And not trying to get like really really deep, but rather your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So one is, first of all, you have to get an understanding of your cap table and how shares work. So that's very important. I mean, even being in this space, I didn't know too much about a safe agreement, didn't know about a cap table, how this whole VC and startup world works. So you have to have a clear understanding of the cap table. I forgot, what was your question about? You said I forgot. Sorry. What was the question?
It was about, so I guess ultimately the question is about, you've already got two owners, so you guys have a certain number of shares each, and each person that you bring into the organization is going to consume, and then you've got perhaps shares that you would give to people that would invest in the organization. I just wanted to get your thoughts around all of that complexity.
Yeah. So when we bring anybody on board, there's a vesting period. Couple years, you name it. We're not just out here giving up equity. All our equity has been earned. I've been working with this company since 2018. Michael AC has as well. We've been working full time since 2020. So it's not that we're just giving up shares right away just to say, hey, we read your resume and interviewed you, and you had a great interview, and that was great, and now we're going to bring you on board. We'll bring you on board, but it's going to vest over a period. You're going to have different milestones that you have to reach. So it's about having a great detailed plan, and then also making sure that you're protected. We have a partnership with the general counsel, Perkins and Cole, who handles all our legal documentation to cover us, and as far as our shares. So what we did, as founders and as a company, we put aside, shares that we will need to pretty much grow our company. Hey, we're going to set aside this amount of shares to grow, to reinvest, to hire and retain talent, because it's needed. We understand at this level, we don't know it all. And if we want to go far and fast, we have to have a team around us that could, help us get to that end point. So we put together and put shares on the side to allocate towards, new talent that we bring on.
Brilliant. Brandon, do you have an equity plan already?
Yeah, for sure. I've kind of taken the similar route that Navarr has taken. When I was involved in the incubator, it was called Launch Peer. It's out of South Carolina. They have a 0 to 1,000 step program that you go through to set up everything that you need to set up. And at the end of that whole entire process, you come out with a working demo. You have investors that you've talked to. You have a cap table, understanding there's videos on how to read cap tables. You have to, make one yourself. So it's a very intricate program that you're in. And learning the cap table and learning the equity share and how dilution works and stuff like that was a little bit tricky for me. Never had to do that before. I've bought businesses in the past and run them, but there was no equity split. It's like, hey, here's the money. Now I own the company. Now this space is, hey, I've got a lot of knowledge. I want to be a part of Young Fox. What's your plan if I want to be a part of that? And I think I can bring you to the next level. Well, we had to allocate shares on the side for that. We used an online program for that. I personally bought a number of shares for the company personally that I own. And then I put aside a certain number for people that we can bring on later, even if it's just an option, for them to kind of get excited about, to be a part of it. Hey, I can be part owner of this company. I can get shares. I can do this. So, for me, that was a tough learn for me. That was a learning curve for me to get involved in that angle of the business. So I'm still learning that. We don't use a safe like Navarr does. I'm kind of leaning maybe towards doing that. I went with convertible notes. And there's a time limit on a convertible note. I've got to produce something. And for me, that was a personal decision for me, because sometimes if I don't set myself up a time limit or a goal, it's very easy for me to become distracted. I went into the service for a reason in my life when I was very young in my 20s, because I needed the discipline and I needed a set time where I could complete something and not get out of it. I couldn't just leave the military. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So for me, I have to set up parameters for myself, and a convertible note was the best way for me to do that, because it kind of gives me that push to say, you know what, I'm going to come through for these people. They believe in me. They've given me money. And now it's just not my future on the line. It's not just me. It's someone else I've got to produce for. So that's been a learning curve for me. I'm still learning all that. And I do have some people that I talk to in accounting and stuff like that, but I don't have anybody that handles all that stuff for me. So we're still putting together that side of the team as well.
Cool. What has fundraising been like for you? What's that journey been like?
It's been a long journey, but it's been a process. It's been great. So for us, like I said, we did a family and friends raise, and a lot of it, like I said, and I keep on shouting out members of Cap Alpha Psi, because they also contribute close to $100,000 in our company. A lot of the brotherhood that we talk about in college, they definitely backed it up and invested in our company. So it's been a long journey, but just through that process, you learn so much, through investor relations, emails, stay on top of them, just how to pitch better, how to tell your story better. Going through that daily, and weekly and monthly, it just becomes like second nature. And then, you start to, have better confidence in yourself, better confidence in your company and where you're going. So it's taught us a lot through the process. And now, hopefully it's prepared us to be ready for the VC level, to start pitching to the big guys. It's been a process. It took us about a year now that we've been raising, close to a year this year, and raised $250,000. But like I said, we've met and added people to our cap table that can definitely add value, and we can have them a part of our brain trust, which is also important. Like I said, with growing and having other people's brain trust and their resources that you can tap into and utilize to build your company, it only helps you accelerate and get to the end point.
Awesome.
Yeah, very
What's
cool.
your
I mean,
experience been like, Brandon?
well, I mean, a little bit different. I mean, it's very impressive to hear that they've been able to raise that because that is I mean, that in itself is a full-time job. I mean, you compile on raising money. I mean, in a sense, what you're doing is going to somebody and saying, hey, you've worked for the past 30 or 40 years and you have this little nest egg stored away and you have set aside some money to invest. Give that money to me for this idea. I mean, we're talking about a startup. We're talking about something that hasn't even had a proof of concept yet. And you're going to friends and family and saying, hey, I know you believe in me as a friend and a family, but do you trust me with your money? That's kind of tricky. And for me, I was a little naive in that area because, it's a lot easier to give your money to somebody, and it's a whole lot harder to get it back, and having those talks with people about what I'm doing, even pitching to them, and even that's tricky because all of a sudden you become like a robot and you're not personal anymore and you're not this human person anymore. What you're doing is you go in this pitch mode and all of a sudden everything you've learned about relationship and networking is thrown out the window and you're just focused in on the pitch. And all of a sudden for me, it became all about me. It didn't become anything about what I was building or my destiny or my future or what we're going to do with this program. It became about how awesome I am and look at this great idea. And, quite frankly, I probably could have raised a lot more money if I would have caught on to that a little bit earlier. To date, we've done 75,000. But I've intentionally not reached out to angels. I've intentionally not reached out to VCs yet. I wanted to keep it very close and very tight. I wanted to see, what I could do, bootstrapping this thing with just some of my own capital and some of my very close friends and family. And that makes it not a little, but a lot more difficult because, I went the way of calendar density and filling my calendar and pitching and doing all these things. And like I said earlier, it just got to be a lot of noise and it didn't feel like me. It didn't feel like I was a part of that anymore. I felt like I was just doing it. I was just going to these day-to-day things that this entrepreneurial startup, environment says you have to do in order to get the result. And it wasn't working for me. I had to go back to what I understood, and that's relationships and building networks and talking with people. And when I did that and went back to what I was comfortable with and what I understood and knew, it was very, very easy for me to start bringing in the capital that I wanted to bring in. So there's going to be a point where we're going to have to reach out if we want to scale to any capacity, past the beta, where I'm going to need some larger funding, so I'm pretty sure Navarr is happy to introduce me to all his people that he's raised money from so they can give me some money.
Networking.
You know what I mean? So like we get, but yeah, no, that's yeah, I'm going to need a lot more. And, it's like, as the bills come in and you pay for things and you realize, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have paid for that. Like I could have done it this way. It's just, man, it just, the fundraising and the money and all that's been a journey in itself other than anything else. Because you're constantly thinking about it. You're constantly thinking about raising money, the next step, where are you going to get the money from? Can you go back to the investors, with the milestones that you said you were going to reach that maybe you haven't reached and ask for more money? So it weighs heavy on my heart and my mind a lot because it's going to take a lot more funding to get where we want to go. I believe it'll come in the right time, but man, that's a journey in and of itself.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. That sounds like work. I get it though. So, I mean, you guys have taken, it's you guys have taken completely different pretty different journeys. Where you've got, two co-founders, Brandon, it's just you, you took different routes. It sounds like from like your fundraising process, et cetera, et cetera. What kinds of things, just looking back, and experiencing other entrepreneurs as well. I mean, what kinds of things would you have done differently? Had you known what you know now?
Started fundraising a lot earlier. For us, and like I said, I went to college, got my master's in accounting. He never talks about this whole VC startup space and that you could have investors, angel investors, help you build your company, invest in you to build your company. So when we started in 2018, I was bootstrapped all the way up until 2021 when I had an angel investor at a Y Combinator, invest in our company and said, hey, I think you have a unicorn company. I think you could be more than a small business. You could be a startup. And, from that decision, we drew a hard line in the sand and said, hey, we're going to be a startup. And, it's helped our growth, tremendously since we, made the decision that we're going to be a startup and start, looking for investments to build our company. But had I known that, in 2018, 2019, we'll probably be light years ahead of, where we're at right now. But, everything happens for a reason. But if there was one thing that I would love to have known about was this whole VC startup world instead of bootstrapping since, 2018.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What about you, Brandon?
Yeah. I think for me, I probably would have done a lot more market research. I have this idea. I think it's wonderful. You think everybody's going to love it. And then you kind of step out and you don't know what you don't know. So until you start digging down deep and trying to figure out those things that you don't know, do you realize I can't go that route or this is not going to work? My initial platform was an Expedia style platform or more like a kayak of food delivery where I thought that I could, go in and start doing comparison style food delivery where I could show you the third party companies' fees and taxes and stuff like that. And although we had some of that information, they don't want to be compared because they don't want you to know what the other people are doing. So, we got cut off on some of those angles. And that put a huge hold on what we were doing. I actually had to shut everything down for like 3 months. And I thought it was over. I thought, this was the end of it. But it wasn't. And I just sat down. I said, no, this is, this was inspired. Like, Navarr is saying, divine intervention and stuff like that. This was for me that is exactly what it was. So I said, this has got to work. So there's got to be a way that I can think through this process and these problems and come up with a solution and still reach my goal. And so that's what we did. And it's that's been very, very difficult, but I think we're on the right path now. We've got a really cool system that we're building, and even though we've taken different paths, Navarr and I are going through the exact same thing. It's very interesting that his background and my background are so different in terms of, when he decided to go to school and did this and went international and did these things, and he's accomplished a lot. His energy is infectious, and he's got co-founders. And, for me, I closed all my windows in my door and I said, I've got to focus on this thing for a solid year and not tell anybody about it. And that's what I did. But if I'd have gone back earlier in this whole journey, in this whole game, I would have done a lot more product research and market fit before I spent any of my investors' money, because I spent some of the money that I didn't need to spend. And that weighs on me too, because now I didn't do them any justice and I didn't do Young Fox any justice. So we had to start over. But for me, if I could have gone back and done something different, it would have been market research and product fit.
That's heavy, Brandon. Thank you for taking us through that. Navarr, have you experienced moments like that, when you thought your idea would not work out?
Yeah, it's been a lot of times. And like I said, from 2018, it wasn't until I say 2020 when the pandemic happened where, we started to have a proof to our business model, to our concept and what we were doing. And before that, it was a little dim trying to go into these liquor stores and tell them about the service that we could provide, that we can, get them additional revenue, get them on a platform that they never been a part of, and sell their inventory that's been collecting dust. These bottles have been collecting dust in their brick and mortar. But when the pandemic happened, people stopped coming to liquor stores. Traditionally, liquor stores can make about $1 million on revenue. I'm talking about your small liquor stores that can have 1, 2, 3 liquors, you name it, whatever the name is, they're going to get about $1 million a year just through foot traffic. But when the pandemic happened, nobody was coming into these liquor stores. And that's where, my company came into play to really, have case studies and testimonies from these liquor stores that tells us that we kept them afloat during the pandemic, because when nobody was coming to their liquor stores, they were able to leverage and use our platform to sell their bottles that wasn't getting sold. And they stayed afloat through the pandemic. And that really just showed us that, hey, that we can do it. But I would say prior to that pandemic, we were this close to really coming and button heads, because it was a lot about, the proof of concept, and the liquor stores really take us serious and believe what we have going for the service that we provide. And then when the pandemic happened, it just all clicked, and then we've been running since then.
Awesome.
Very cool. You said this idea came to you in 2011?
Yes, correct.
That's very interesting. That's we have a lot more in common than I think we realize, because I decided to go, like I said, to college in 2008, and I did that out in Colorado Springs. And there was a 2-year program out there. It was actually a biblical college. I went out there and got a degree in biblical studies. Not really to become a pastor or anything, but just to be involved in ministry and understand the spiritual side of who I was as a person and my purpose. But during the second year I was out there, they expanded the college into ministry, missionary track, business school. And I thought, hey, the business school is speaking my language. I really want to do that. And so I signed up for it to do the business school. And actually 2012, I took a year off. But during that year off, I could see the trend in the way the food delivery was going. So the very initial thought that I had was, hey, if you're sitting down, I don't know if y'all remember this, but the Xbox came out with like this family thing where you could put the little thing up there and you could build your avatars, and it was like a family night, and you could play video games with your family. And it was during that time when Xbox was expanding into, really marketing into my generation, into the families. And I thought, hey, that's really cool, because now Netflix is on Xbox. And, back then that little circle to load your movie was a lot longer than it is now, because the internet speed wasn't as fast. But I thought, hey, wow, what a cool idea if during that little time that's loading the movie, I could have that real estate and ask the family if they've had dinner yet. And I could populate, just some simple restaurants in their area, and they could, in a sense, pause the movie and then wait for the food to be delivered. And back then there was, Dash, 911 Dash, or Cuisine on the Scene, or in Colorado Springs, there were several little tiny micro food delivery companies, and before they started getting eaten up by the bigger guys. And, but I could see the trend and how it was going. And I thought, man, this is going to be a $1 billion space one day. I wonder how I could, get in that. So I wrote the plan right then and there. I wrote up the plan for Young Fox. Back then it was called Vittles. Vittles was a name that I couldn't really market well, because no one knows what a vittle is. It's like, a small portion of food, but it was just hard for me to market that. But I turned it in. So the way the business school worked is you could submit ideas. If your idea got picked, they would give you a team of 9 to 10 people, and you would actually build the business from ground up. They rejected that business idea and said, that will never work. You're thinking too small. Food delivery will never take off. How are you going to make money on 25 cents an order or 50 cents an order just here in Colorado Springs? So they really didn't capture the vision and the heart behind what I was thinking of about what Young Fox is today. But another business idea I submitted got, chosen when we went a different route, but I just put that on the shelf. I knew that Vittles was going to be something great one day. But that idea is very interesting, that idea came in the same time frame that you came up with Quick Lick. And it sounds like you were seeing the trends, just like I think I was seeing those trends, that, hey, this is something that people are going to use and want and need in the future. Here we are 11 years later, almost 13 years later. And, the market and the industry has just exploded, and it's just given rise to what people want. And the visionaries, I think Navarr was a visionary back then, and, just to put something together and say, what, time is not going to stall me on what I want to do, what's in my heart. This is something that, was given to me, and I'm going to take it and run with it. 2011 wasn't the time. the time came later, pulls it off the shelf. And here we are, two young guys doing a podcast talking about our journey, about how we're going to build something that we believe is part of our destiny, is part of what people want. And I think that's really cool because, there's stories like that all over the place. And it just goes back to consistency, getting up, getting the mindset that, I'm called to do this. I don't care what anybody else says, flushing out the noise and just doing what you say you're going to do and getting it done. And it's very, very difficult. It's very hard, but I think that's what we're built for. I don't think we're built to pay bills and die. I think we're here to change communities and change lives. And I think that's what we're doing. And hats off to Navarr, hats off to you, Rick and Hazel, for doing what y'all are doing. So I think that's great. I think I see the community coming together just right here on this podcast. And I think it's just awesome.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That was really great. Navarr, we've got to wrap up. Any closing thoughts for you, or from you, I should say?
None off the top of my head. Like I said, we've been talking and saying a lot and dropping a lot of jewels. Hopefully, like I said, opportunities like this has been very helpful for me because, like I said, all I can speak from is my perspective and experience, and not knowing about the whole startup and VC space has been challenging. It's been an uphill battle for me. But opportunities and podcasts like this, and having now I call Miami and South Florida the Silicon Valley of South Florida of the South. Because all the tech and startups are coming to Miami. Miami and South Florida is a LATAM hub for all the major businesses as well. So Miami's been very attractive, but, just having more opportunities to know about, this space has been very helpful for me. So podcasts like this, I listen to podcasts every day. So these things are helpful for me. So I just appreciate this journey that I've been on. I appreciate all the resources and connections that I've made through this journey, and I'm looking forward to continuing on this journey and getting to the finish line.
Cool. Thank you guys so much. This has been really cool. Hazel, any closing words from you?
There's a lot that was unpacked this episode, and I think the biggest takeaway for me here is to keep on going with your goals and vision in mind. Doesn't matter whether or not you have the technical background, whatnot, as long as you have a vision and you're consistent, in terms of going after that vision and building your community, taking part in building a community you want to serve, then you're going to get there eventually. So thank you, Navarr. Thank you, Brandon, for sharing all of that. It was a lot that we have covered today. I want to thank you for your passion and your wisdom.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Hazel.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. I appreciate all y'all for having me on here today.
Thanks for watching another episode of Eepiphanni Off the Cuff. Please make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when the next episode is going to drop. Don't forget, we're on podcasts as well, so you can catch us on your favorite podcasting platforms. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Eepiphanni Off the Cuff.